Well, good morning. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. Thanks for joining us today. And in California, we are proud to be the most diverse state in the nation. All are welcome here: immigrants, indigenous peoples, individuals of all backgrounds, races, ethnicities, religions, genders, and identities. Our state will always be a place where all people are welcome. A place of freedom, a place of safety, a place of opportunity. That is the California promise, a promise that now means even more as we have seen our rights and our safety eroded as a result of recent Supreme Court decisions. Over the last year, I've traveled across the state, meeting with hundreds of community leaders and organizations to defend this promise. And it's an honor to stand with a cross-section of these communities today, including Jimmy Jackson, California-Hawaii State Conference of NAACP, Gabby Trejo, Sacramento Area Congregations Together, Commissioner Syrian, Villavicencio, California Commission on Asian and Pacific Islanders, Zohar Raza, Council on American Islamic Relations, Sacramento Central Valley, Rabbi Seth Castleman, Congregation Bet Havarim, and member of Sacramento ACT, Cha Vang, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders for Civic Empowerment Education Fund, Jorge Reyes Salinas, Equality California. And that is why we gather today. California remains the beacon of hope. We are the bastion of diversity, and we also know our fight for inclusion and progress remains far from over, that we can't sit on our laurels, that we need to continue to push. And we don't shy away from the hard truths. We learn from them, and one hard truth in our state, just as we've seen across the nation, is that the epidemic of hate we saw spurred on during the pandemic remains a clear and present threat. And today we have a better understanding of that threat. Today, the California Department of Justice is releasing the 2021 Hate Crime in California report, and we are also announcing the creation of a statewide hate crime coordinator position as we continue our efforts to combat hate. Today's report reflects a grim reality our diverse communities know all too well from lived experience. Year over year, we saw a 32.6% increase in reported hate crimes between 2020 and 2021 across California. In fact, reported hate crime has reached a level we haven't seen in California since the aftermath of the terrorist attacks of September 11th. Before I speak to some of the data more specifically, I want to affirm that historically at DOJ, we recognize data on hate crimes has generally been underreported at the local level. And when we aggregate it statewide, we recognize our findings do not always reflect the lived experiences of our diverse communities. Nevertheless, the statewide data we are announcing today is one of many important tools we have at our disposal to understand what our communities face and how we can better support them. And the data makes clear that our diverse communities continue to face hate, continue to face hardship. Some of the key and frankly deeply concerning, very disturbing findings of today's report include the following. Anti-Black hate crimes were yet again the most prevalent overall, increasing an alarming 12.5% year over year, with 513 incidents reported. Anti-Asian hate crimes increased a skyrocketing 177.5%, 247 incidents, and that is after an increase last year of 107%. So 107% increase followed by 177.5 increase over the last 2 years, and these statistics hit very close to home for me personally. Hate crimes motivated by sexual orientation bias increased nearly 48%, 303 incidents. Anti-Hispanic or Latino hate crimes increased over 29%. That's 197 incidents. And among hate crimes involving a religious bias, anti-Jewish hate crimes were the most prevalent and increased over 32%, and that's 152 incidents represented. These, of course, are statistics, but they are more than just numbers. Each of these incidents represents an attack on a person, a neighbor, a family member, a fellow Californian. And worse, we know our statistics likely are not exhaustive. Still today, too many are too afraid to come forward. This report affirms what we've been hearing on the ground. The pandemic gave way to an epidemic of hate. We saw the bigoted words of our former president turn a trickle of hate into a flood that remains with us. Much work remains to protect and support our communities in response to this disturbing data. While there is no single solution, it's up to all of us to heed the call, because when our communities feel empowered, they come forward. And last year, they came forward more than the year before. That is a step toward progress, because when more people report, more people get help. As more people stepped forward, our justice system did too. I find solace in knowing that the number of cases filed for prosecution by district attorneys and elected city attorneys increased. During this reporting period, hate crime charges increased by over 30%. I continue to urge local partners and law enforcement to recommit themselves to taking action, as I will as well. For our part at the DOJ, we're going to continue to engage with our partners across the state. That's why we've created today's new hate crimes coordinator position within our criminal law division, to ensure we have a point person for working with internal and external partners when it comes to the criminal aspect of this important work. That's why we will continue our efforts to encourage reporting, investigating civil rights issues, and engaging with our community on multiple fronts. In fact, later today, after this press conference, I'm headed to Stockton to continue our statewide series of convenings with law enforcement, elected leaders, and community leaders to increase awareness around available resources and strengthen responses to hate crime. We've been going up and down the state over the last number of months. This is our 9th citywide convening and roundtable to address hate crimes. The fact is that this work takes much more than a law enforcement response, more than what a law enforcement response alone can address. That's why it's critical that our legislature and our governor made a historic investment of tens of millions of dollars to help community-based organizations who are on the ground doing this work every day step up their role in confronting the challenge of hate. Some of these organizations are here with us today, and they will share more about their very important and invaluable efforts. Because the bottom line is, we all must continue this work. We all have a role to play to make sure that California remains a place that is home for everyone, where everyone belongs. All belong here, and all of us need to do our part to turn the tide when it comes to hate. All of us stand united here in solidarity in that work. There's nothing we can't do if we do it together. We have our work cut out for us, but we're ready for the challenge. Because there's no place for hate in California, not now, not ever, not here, not anywhere. With that, I'd like to introduce Jimmy Jackson, the North Area Director for the California Highway State Conference of NAACP, who will speak about some of the state's historic investments in combating hate. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, sir. My name's Jimmy Jackson. I'm the Area Director of California, Hawaii in the NAACP, and thank you for having us here this morning. The abhorrent hate crimes fueled by racism and intolerance that we have seen take place throughout these past years have been enough to know that change and action is needed to take place. We are all tired of seeing our brothers and our sisters of color being targets of hatred, discrimination, and racism. The California Hawaii NAACP is working on a project to stop the hate and to move us all towards collective justice across the communities of color through direct and preventative services. With funding awarded by the California Department of Social Services, We plan on providing legal redress, youth development, and also plan to work across racial groups and other impacted populations to combat hate and serve vulnerable populations in the state of California. We know that projects to combat hate in our communities are needed, and they're needed now. The California-Hawaii NAACP project will consist of legal redress services, which will enable branches to provide specific legal assistance and advice through local attorneys on hate crimes and especially discrimination. We will implement a youth leadership opportunity to complete more intensive social and racial justice work with their local communities on anti-race and anti-hate issues. Finally, we will be identifying and partnering with ethnic-based civil rights organizations and anti-hate initiatives while also continuing to work with the California Black media to educate ethnic populations. These kinds of projects to combat hate are well overdue, and the NAACP is proud to be taking a leadership position in the communities of colors. We cannot continue to allow the forces of hate, racism, and discrimination to continue to run rampant without a fight. The fight for justice is only possible through unity and through organizations like the NAACP. And we are all in this fight to stay. We're all in this fight together, and I hope everybody will join us in this effort. Thank you. Should I introduce Ms. Trujillo, Sacramento ACT?
Good afternoon, Gabby Trejo with Sacramento ACT, a Pico, California affiliate. And for us representing the faith community in Sacramento and across the state, it is really important to encourage our communities to report crimes and to to ensure that they feel safe. And feeling safe means reaching out and knowing where are all the resources like the NAACP and other partners that are here today. California, as I was mentioned earlier, it's a state that is not just rich in money, but rich in cultures and diversity. And it is important for us to continue to build a California where everyone is seen, where everyone belongs, and where everyone feels safe, where our children can also feel safe. And we cannot accomplish that alone. So I just want to encourage, if you are watching us today, please make sure that you are promoting some of these resources that are going to be shared with you today, and also want to encourage you to join the efforts and report crimes if you ever are a victim or know of a family or an individual that has been a victim. The faith community continues to stay committed to ensuring that we build a beloved community in California.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Sirian Villavicencio, and I'm a gubernatorial appointee serving on the California Commission on Asian and Pacific Islander American Affairs. We are an independent state commission comprised of 13 citizen commissioners appointed by the state legislature and the governor. Our mission is to elevate the political, economic, and social issues of the approximately 7.2 million Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders living in our great state. We are essentially the liaison, advising both the state legislature and the governor's office on the needs, issues, and concerns of our diverse and complex AA and HPI communities. I want to thank, again, Attorney General Rob Bonta and his office for inviting me to participate in today's press conference, and I want to commend their work in launching this important report on hate crime incidents here in California. At the beginning of the pandemic, before California went into shelter in place, we were already seeing a dramatic rise in hate incidents and hate crimes against AA and HPI communities within California and throughout the nation. Our elders were being physically attacked. Women and young people were being verbally insulted. AAPI students were being harassed and bullied at school. And AAPI-owned small businesses were targeted and discriminated against just because they were AAPI. I think it's important for me to note that these forms of discrimination and violence against our communities did not start with the pandemic, nor is it new. From Japanese internment to the murder of Vincent Chin in 1982, our communities have been historically marginalized and stereotyped as perpetual foreigners. The senseless murder of 8 individuals, 6 of whom were women of Asian descent in Atlanta, Georgia in March 2021, may have put a national spotlight on this issue and galvanized the Stop AAPI Hate movement. But this form of discrimination and violence against our communities has long persisted in our history. That being said, what was alarming to us as a commission was the dramatic rise of recent hate incidents against AAPI communities. So last year, our commission collaborated with advocates from over 200 AAPI community-based organizations and partnered with the AAPI Legislative Caucus and budget and legislative staff to push forward what we called the API Equity Budget to directly address hate incidents and hate crimes, as well as the lack of investment within the AANHPI community. This budget, which was signed by Governor Newsom last July 2021, is an historic 3-year investment of $166.5 million in California's AAPI community. Of the $166.5 million, $110 million was appropriated to the California Department of Social Services, or CDSS, where our commission serves as a consultant to award grants to organizations that provide support and services to victims and survivors of hate incidents and hate crimes, not just specific to AAPIs, but to victims of hate crimes and hate incidences from any background. So I want to be clear. These funds are available to all communities who have been traumatized by these hate crimes and hate incidences. In the past year, we worked closely with CDSS to develop the Stop Hate program, which consists of 5 regional lead organizations and 75 partner organizations throughout the state who work directly to provide services to victims and survivors of hate crimes. These grantees provide direct services, including mental health services, wellness, and legal counsel and case management. Some community organizations are providing community prevention and intervention programs, which includes youth development, senior safety, bystander safety, de-escalation techniques, and restorative justice programs. As I briefly outlined, the API Equity Budget allows the state of California to directly help victims of hate crimes, as well as invests in ways to reduce these incidences in the future. Our commission acknowledges that hate incidences and hate crimes impacts many vulnerable Californians, and it will take all of us here, working together in partnership to bring justice, healing, and peace to all of our communities. Thank you, and I will turn the time back over to Attorney General Rob Bonta.
Thank you. I just really appreciate our incredible community-based organization partners and leaders throughout the state. This is all hands on deck and everyone working together to address a common challenge and a common threat. And we're all in this together till the end to support Californians throughout the state. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you have questions for any of the other speakers, please specify who the question is for.